It's the sick show. It's the sick show.
It's the sick show.
Hey, welcome everybody. Hey, today I wanted to just get into this real quick. Brian Blevins is my guest today, and I was perusing Facebook, and I saw that he had an incredible experience. He had been part of saving someone's life, and I reached out to him. I said, "Hey, you got to get over here. We got to get on the mic." So here we go. Hey, today I'm with Brian Blevins, and Brian, we've known each other since I don't even know when, and always had a lot of respect for you. And I know you went through some stuff, but we can get to that later.
Yeah.
I want to talk about something you just posted on Facebook, and the reason I reached out to you is because I've said it before with Travis Jester on my podcast. We talked about how drug addiction and not only drug addiction, but drug addiction and mental health affects more families than anyone wants to admit
Oh, bro.
and is willing to admit. And it scares me. It scares me as someone who drug addiction has affected my family in a very close way. Alcohol abuse was part of my family in a big way. And I believe there's mental health issues that go along with that. I've experienced depression. I've experienced, some moments of very sensitive moments that I'm not willing to share yet.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about what you just posted on Facebook today, and I don't want to tell the story.
Sure. Man, I'm telling you, here's my morning. So I'm a peer support specialist, a community health worker. So my job for the last little 5+ years has been helping people, whether it's in recovery, now more geared to the community health worker side. So diabetes, heart disease, like a lot of different, diseases or whatever, just being present for people, pointing them in the right direction, just being there for people. And this morning I had a gentleman, we filed for an expungement for this guy. And 5 years ago, I met this guy. He was living in a storage unit in Gas City. And that's crazy to me because he's an older guy, you know what I'm saying? So I met him through the hospital. He wanted to go to rehab, and the rehab I got him into was like 3.5 hours away. And so, we scheduled everything. I go to pick this guy up. He has a bicycle. His bicycle's at a bar in an alley. And I'm like, okay, this is a weird start. And he looks at me and he's like, hey, we're going to have to put my bicycle in the car because I'm taking it with me. And I'm like, I don't think you get it, dude. We're going 3.5 hours to court in Indiana. You can't put a bicycle in my truck and take it, or in my trunk and take it to rehab. And so he's like, screw this, I'm not going to rehab. And some time went by, saw this gentleman again, and just started some small talk, just wanted to get to know him. He let me know his living situation. I started, I would eat dinner here in Hartford City, and I, my leftovers, bro, like, and I'm not saying this like, look at me or whatever.
Right.
Like, I took food to, I would take my leftovers and stuff, and I would drive it to Gas City because I knew there was a dude living in a storage unit, and whether he was cold and hungry or hot, or, how does someone like that use the restroom? Like, that stuff like really hit my heart. So I just really started to reach out more and more to this guy. Ended up getting him into housing in Montpelier, Indiana. And that didn't work out. Went back to the storage unit, got him another housing in Gas City. That didn't work out. He dealt with mental illness. So, no diagnosis, not going to the doctor. He had to have a hip replacement, pacemaker put in. So he had, he was an alcoholic. So many issues, but his mental illness wouldn't allow him to get into a place to live. So finally, through Radiant Health in Marion, they had living there in Hartford City. It's called Sky Ridge Apartments. So I was able to get this guy into Sky Ridge Apartments, and through Taylor University, they had an expungement program. So something that I found that worked well with this guy is if you gave him hope or something to look forward to, it just slowly started to just change this guy. Plus, he was taking his medications as prescribed. He went and got his hip replaced, stayed in a nursing home. I was able to take him and be there, by his side a lot, through my job. And he got his pacemaker moved in. And so his expungement is Wednesday, the 30th. And he don't have any pants. Like, he had 2 pair of pants, and the crotch was like ripped out of his pants, and we have to go to court. And he's like, I don't want to go to court, and not have any jeans. And I'm like, bro, let's go to Walmart and I'll get you some jeans. This ain't no problem.
Right.
So we're in there, and I'm in Walmart, and he's looking at jeans, and it takes him like 45 minutes, bro, to get these jeans. And I'm standing there, and I'm like, scrolling through my phone and looking, and someone said something is that his cart, and then they started talking, and I said, yeah, I'm kind of a case manager, and I help people. And a lady heard me say that and started talking about mental illness and all this stuff with her daughter. And then we had an amazing conversation about mental illness, and that it's not diagnosed, and sometimes people just shove it away, and what that looks like. So had amazing conversation. We're leaving. A couple guys see this gentleman I was with and knew him from the past, and they're like, man, you look really good, And I'm like, man, that's awesome. This guy's getting his life together, just got some new jeans, a belt, and he sat down, and he's like, man, I tell you what, I don't think anything could get any better for me. He had a lifetime suspension on his license. We looked that up. He might be able to get a license due to he hasn't been in trouble or nothing in the past 10 years. So he's just, joyful for a couple pair of pants and a belt, and we're leaving, and I leave Walmart, and I'm heading to the Grace House to talk about a recovery event coming up the 31st, which is Overdose Awareness Day, which this factors into the whole story. I get to McClure's gas station right there in Marion, and I look up, and there's a lady like stopped her car right in the middle of the road, and I'm thinking, what in the world is this lady doing? Like, I looked over, and then I'm like, oh man, there's a vehicle like right up against a pole that would go right into the intersection if that pole hadn't been there. And I'm turning to the gas station where I could see the gentleman in the window, and I noticed his head was just back, and he just looked lifeless, a car length away from me. So I immediately just whipped it right into the gas station, and I jumped out of my car, and there was some Narcan, and I ran over because I didn't know what was going on, but I had that on me, and sure enough, he was purple. Like he was literally looked already dead. The skin color and everything was like gone. And I put his vehicle in park because the engine was still revving, and I turned the ignition off and took the keys out, and I ran to his side, and some people are now seeing like what's going on, and somebody did call 911, and I hurried up and ran, and I've been trained in Narcan training. I work for Bridges to Health, so that's something that we do. We train people to use Narcan. And so, it's a real easy thing to do. You unpill it, you stick it up their nostril, and it's like a plunger. You just hit the plunger. And I put the first dose, up his nostril, and to see someone lifeless and no color in the skin, I'm rubbing on his chest to make sure, trying to get him to breathe, and I'm yelling at him, and he starts gurgling, and I'm like, that's a good sign that he's trying to get oxygen, or maybe this Narcan's gonna work. And then I'm like, I don't have no more. Like, I'm running around looking, I'm tearing through my car and my trunk, and all of a sudden a guy that worked at the sober living home that I was going to was coming. He had 2 more Narcans right there, and I was like, wow. And he threw them to me, and I hit him with 2 more, and he still was just barely gargling. Another guy from another recovery house in Marion had 2 more, hit him with those 2, and then a girl from inside of the gas station brought 1 more, and I hit him with 1 more, which was made 6. He started like gurgling a little more. Paramedics came. They were going to give him another one, but we laid his seat straight back. And when we laid his seat straight back, it must have went from his nose down his throat or whatever, and it was he immediately just like came to life. I just immediately saw somebody like dead, not breathing, more alive. I mean, it was crazy that somebody just totally unresponsive, that just was back full of life. He didn't want to go to the ER and even get checked out, is how like okay that he was, which was a lot for me to process. You know what I'm saying? Is like, bro, you was just dead. You might want to go to the ER.
Right.
But he shared with me, because I shared a little bit of my recovery, that I'm 8 years, sober, and I kind of, this is what I do in Grant County. And I gave him my phone number and information, and he's like, bro, I was 5 months sober, and I relapsed. So he wasn't even like back in active addiction. He messed up and said he took a pill, which people's getting fentanyl, and that's what it was. They said he was nodding out in McClure's, got in his vehicle and was leaving, and he just totally OD'd while he was in drive and ran right into a pole. Another crazy thing was, I'm looking down, he only had 1 arm. So he had some trauma 10 years ago, he shared a little bit about, and I looked on his dash, and there was a Bible like right there on his dash. And I just affirmed with him, I'm like, buddy, the string of events that brought Narcan to you, another guy, and a girl, for you to be breathing today, if you would tell me that's not, I don't believe in coincidences or whatever, you know what I mean? That looks like, it's like, today, something amazing happened. And, it wasn't that I showed up. There was a bunch of people that showed up that had Narcan, because Grant County, we have it at the Grace House, we have it at the Rescue Mission, we pass it out in the recovery community, because we know, people are dying, and there's so much stigma, and people, lose compassion about, somebody using drugs or dealing with mental health. And it's like, that's affected me, and I've lost close people in my life that are good people, sons, daughters, brothers, and sisters. And I've been affected so much, and it's like, you can't help anyone when they're dead. That facts. You know what I'm saying? when they're dead, there's no more help. So if whatever it is, if you can help someone and there can be one more chance or one more time, that's what it was for me. So many years, everyone could have given up on me and threw me to the curb because, I didn't deserve, the goodness that I got. I deserved, to be locked in a cell, and I did some things, and I probably didn't pay the penalty, that other people had paid, and you really can't process or answer to those things, but I had a divine appointment when I was incarcerated, and I met the Lord while I was in jail, and I said, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to change my life, which I always said that before. I always wanted to change. I really just didn't know how. So, when I gave my heart over at my lowest point, because, I was going to commit suicide while I was in jail, and I just didn't have the way or means to do that. So I know what it's like to just not want to live. But when you have a new opportunity and a new chance, and you find out that serving other people and the joy that it brings by helping others, I mean, waking up is not a problem when you're not waking up for yourself anymore.
Right.
When you're legitimately helping other people, it's real easy to get out of bed.
I was thinking about as you were talking. Can you help my listeners know what Narcan is? It's naloxone. Is that how it's pronounced?
Yeah.
My wife, Jennifer, and Jennifer.
Yeah.
She is the medical person in this house.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Far. But if you could explain that to the listeners so they're aware and know what different forms it comes in,
Yeah.
and why. I don't know if you. I'm sure you do. If you can explain why it works.
Yeah. So it immediately reverses the overdose. Like, it just totally reverses it, and sometimes people go into immediate withdrawal, which they'll wake up and be combative over, but it is safe to use. Police, we try to get more police to have it on their police cars, and then one of the problems when Narcan first came out, it was in a syringe, so there was a needle involved, and you would have to load the needle, and then you got to inject somebody with a needle. Now they have nasal Narcan, which is a lot safer. There's not a syringe or whatever that's like. Another thing that people need to know is it's safe even around children. Like, a child could get a hold of a thing of Narcan and it's not going to do anything to them. So, I think there's a stigma around it. Is it safe? It's like, yeah,
right.
It's safe enough to even be around kids, or, they've did so many studies, and, it has no adverse effects on anyone. It only works if somebody is overdosing.
Right. And that was something I think there's a lot of misconceptions about Narcan out there. It could be dangerous to kids. Why do we have it everywhere? One of the big ones I hear is we can give Narcan for free, but we can't give diabetics medicine for free. And we're talking about two totally different things, folks.
Apples and oranges.
It's not even the same playing field. And I wanted you to come in today for a multitude of reasons. This was just an immediate thing. It happened today, and I want to make sure that we get that out there. How you were able to be in the right place at the right time, and being aware of the opportunity to utilize a tool. And Narcan is a tool.
A tool.
It's a life-saving tool to save that man's life. And thank you for doing that. And I'm with you. When I hear someone say, well, they took the drugs, so you get what you deserve.
Yeah, it was their choice to do it.
Would you be saying that if it were you,
right?
If it were your child, if it was someone close to you? And I can't help but think of the number of second chances I've been given.
Oh man.
And thankfully I've never had to be in that situation, but man, Brian,
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot, and there's all this stigma behind it, but we're talking about a life, a human being. Whether somebody deserves or whatever, look, we all deserve another chance. And I don't even care like what that looks like. And I know there's some penalties and some things that are so gross. People, that's why the courts do the things the court do that they do. But when you're talking about mental illness and whether addiction is a disease or a choice, I'm telling you, once addiction grabs a hold of you and you are physically dependent, you will do absolutely anything, say anything to get to feel better and not to be sick.
to anyone.
I'm telling you, I've been doing this for a long time, and I thought that I was a unicorn and I was unique. And once I got into the recovery community, and there's so many people, that feel like I feel, think that like I would think. And, once that I started opening up and getting rid of some of the things inside of me, that really helped, is to have a community of people that like understand. So why peer support is so important, in my opinion, it's because you have a lived experience. And when you have that lived experience, it's just a little, easier to talk to someone that knows what you're talking about. And there's value in the whole system. There's value in the whole thing. But at that beginning, stage of, do I want to be in recovery, or what do I even want? I think somebody that has that lived experience, in my opinion, it takes another barrier away, from the ability to somebody say, hey, if they can do it, I can do it.
Right. Yeah, thinking about what you're talking about is, the peer recovery coaches and correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
And how important that is to have someone who has experienced that, who has lived it, and then to coach someone through it. You know what the craving is.
Yeah.
You know what the feeling of, that moment when the drug hits, when you need it, when it's coming off of a high. You understand and feel that. Someone who hasn't, just doesn't have a clue.
Yeah, they don't.
There's no way they can explain that. And I've experienced what life has to offer, but that still doesn't put me in a position that you're in, having been, boy, Brian.
And I tell you, nobody wants to sign up for this stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you don't want to go out there and then, I threw away from my late teens until I was 42. You know what I'm saying? You grew up with me.
Yep.
And I didn't grow up that way. That's not who I was at the beginning part of high school.
Right.
That we knew each other. It's like, we stopped hanging out because you were doing the right thing and I didn't want to. Right. That's facts.
It is. For a short period of time, we're running around in very similar circles. It was like, I was kind of on the outside rung of those circles that we fall into. I don't know how else to put it, but somewhere there in the middle, there's that point where it's very difficult to come back out of.
Yeah.
And I was very fortunate to get my toe wet and go, I don't want anything to do with that. And I know there were some of you guys that didn't.
A lot.
You guys didn't refuse and move away from it. And a lot of our friends, mutual friends that we've lost, and just past few years being a teacher, seeing children come through my classroom of kids who have been affected. Their lives have been changed and altered because of the choices their parents made, who are no longer with us or still with us and still making bad choices, and those kids coming through it. And,
being raised by their grandma and grandpa. Yeah, I mean, we see it all the time. And
absolutely.
And the overdose that hits me probably the hardest was, there was a 16-year-old kid, and he was sticking a needle in his arm at 12 years old. Like, how do you say that?
How do you?
I mean, that's just absolutely nuts. You know, back when we were young, you know, it was alcohol and marijuana, but all that stuff is gone. It's like kids are now, they don't even know what they're putting in their body, and none of that is like fun or a good time or a social activity. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, there's no, you know, so it's just so different. The generation, you know, that we live in today, it's like you don't know if your teen might take something they thought was an aspirin and it have fentanyl in it. I mean, it's so crazy. They're crushing these pills, and I mean, you better have like your own aspirin bottle and your own stuff, and you better not be out getting pills off of anyone else that you don't know, because you could think you could be curing a headache. And that's happened. I mean, I've seen that where, you know, somebody ran out of their medication and literally thought that they were just, you know, going to get a medication off of someone else, and they're not here today, literally because they thought they were getting something they were prescribed. I know that, and that's, I mean, all, you know, that's just, it just tears me up, bro. And I haven't, like, literally, I don't think to the fullest dealt or grieved that stuff, because I don't, it's been an everyday thing for the last 5 years to me, watching people close to me or the field that I'm in be gone. Like, you know.
So what kind of sports out there for you?
Well,
You guys are supporting
yeah,
so many
and,
others.
Well, and that's the thing. You better have your support system. You know, I better have mentors and people speaking into my life, and somebody that I could go, you know, throw up all over, or, you know, you can't just take on other people's stuff and you know, walk around thinking you're some leader or you're okay, and not have a healthy outlet. It don't work. You know what I'm saying? It's so important. You know, I have men in my life today. You know, there's men that I turn to. There's non-negotiables in my life. You know, church for me, you know, my attendance has been down or whatever, but it's a non-negotiable in my life. I have a men's group. You know, there's things that are non-negotiable in my life. My wife is in recovery herself. She works for the jail, and, you know, she has non-negotiables in her life. That's not, you know, I think every person in recovery needs to find out, like, and when I say non-negotiable, it's like you're not going to negotiate not going or not having that as a part of your lifestyle. Your new lifestyle is a non-negotiable, and that is so many different things for so many different people. So I can't say my non-negotiable is going to work for somebody else, because that's not how none of that works. You know what I'm saying?
I do. And
Yeah.
so I'm thinking about, as you're talking through this, I'm just thinking about the things that I've changed in my life just to be healthier. And you know, I was a smoker for 16 years, and that was, I listened to, and I've listened to a lot of things you put out, and followed your recovery process. I followed your addiction process too. I mean, we were all there. It wasn't like it was a secret, right? And I'm thankful that your recovery process hasn't been a secret either, because it's opened the door to Brian Blevins, and it's also been an accountability piece for you. And I think that non-negotiable you're talking about is the accountability that comes 100%. In with recovery.
Yeah.
You know, for me to stop smoking, which is a process as well, and it's an overcoming an addiction to nicotine, I had to change my life, my personal culture, and I had to decide I wasn't going into the convenience store anymore.
Yeah.
I just couldn't go in. I would go get gas for my car, but I could not walk in the store for months.
Yeah.
It may have been a year before I walked into a convenience store.
Wow.
After getting gas.
Yeah, I'm not going into a bar and playing pool.
There's no way.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still like, we'd love to go to the casino and just hang out and throw some coins in and listen, but I can't, because of the amount of smoke that's in there.
Yeah.
It's going to get me. It's going to get me. It's going to trigger things in my brain. And I think there's that culture, that personal culture, that lifestyle you talked about, changing your lifestyle.
That's what it is.
And you're not just the habit of the addiction, it is the habit of your daily walk to the car.
And when you have to change everything, I'm talking everything. I mean, you don't know how to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You have to watch somebody else who has did it before you, and then, you know what I mean, you gather hope and tools and resources, and then you become the hope for somebody else, and you just pass that along. Because, you know, once that you get into your recovery, how you maintain recovery is service work. So, you know, you just don't get better and say, oh, well, you know, I got it all together now. And, you know, if you're not helping the next guy,
Right.
you know, that same selfishness and everything will ultimately, I've seen over and over, you know, that's why it's the revolving door of that thing. You know, people get some of their life back and it better, and then they lose the accountability. It's not a lifestyle change. And, you know, you got to put clothes on every morning. You know, there's stuff that you got to wake up and do you know, you just don't wake up and walk out of the house naked. You know, the first thing you got to do is, you know, you might want to take a shower. You might want to brush your teeth. Like, there's all these small things that you have to build up to just to leave the house. And some people lose all bearing of even normal things that you'd think, oh, well, that's just something people do. Well, you know, that changing your lifestyle and being healthy, it's all of a sudden you have to change your lifestyle and know what healthy looks like. Because if your mom and dad didn't teach you things, like, where do you learn them? I mean,
Right.
And that's a lot of stuff that we see. We see a lot of men that weren't raised by a man, and everyone says, I'm not gonna be like my dad, you know,
Or you're going to not be.
Yeah.
You know, what's that process?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I had a guest on, Hal Bowman, a while back, and he was talking about how he feels that the same thing you just said. We have young boys who are being raised without dads, without strong male role models in their life. How are they going to become a strong male role model without one to see and to follow? And I'm not taking away from mothers.
Yeah,
I
not
love
at all.
We have to have a mother. We have to. My mother was a huge impact in my life. And, there were times I was lost without her, you know, and still today I'm lost without her. But I had a mom who edified my dad and talked about how she could, and I mentioned this just a while back, she can replace me. She can make another one of me, but she chose him. And that said a lot about how my mom looked at my dad and his role in my life. He was our leader. And I think we have some young men out there who haven't experienced that.
Yeah.
And I think there needs to be, I don't think it, I know it, there needs to be a mentorship program of some sort.
Has to be.
There needs to be someone for them to look to so that they don't run into the wrong people who are going to take advantage of them.
Yeah, and look, I have an amazing family. No one in my family deals with addiction or the other stuff. So it's not always that your mom and dad, you know, was
Right.
the cause. Mine was just basically poor decision making and wanted to fit in to a crowd I didn't belong to.
Right.
You know, I just wanted to fit into something else.
So interesting. Something else I mentioned before is just taking ownership of yourself and finding that best self, you know, and we've both looked for someone for approval.
Yeah.
In the wrong category.
Still can sometimes.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
You know, I continued to do that. And I think about the days in my band, and as much as I truly enjoyed making music and that process of creating that art, I love all those guys, but they weren't the best decision makers either.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Not all of them were. It's interesting. I just had a dream about one of them the other night, and I thought, my God, he looked so good. He looked healthy for the first time, and I'm going to have to reach out to him. So, yeah, I'm glad I mentioned that because I forgot about the dream I had. But anyway,
Yeah.
you know, it's one of those things. And I'm going to switch gears on you a little bit, and I want to talk about Chubby Burger because
Oh yeah, come
that
on.
doesn't happen without this.
No.
That doesn't happen without all the things before it. And
Yeah.
so, with that being said, as much as there is shame and regret and all the
Yeah.
stuff from all the process
Sure.
of your addiction and recovery, boy, you've sure made some amends. You'll never be able to make it all up.
Well, no,
And you know that.
Right.
As someone who, my sister has struggled with addiction in her past, and you were part of her recovery process
yeah.
as well, and her husband, and so I think, thank you for that. But without all of that, I want to
Yeah.
get to Chubby Burger, man,
Come
because
on.
number one, I love a good cheeseburger,
There
and
you
you guys
go.
put one out there, that's for sure. So talk to me.
So it's you know, when I went to jail this last time, like I said, you know, I didn't want to live, and basically that was the best thing that ever happened to me, because my decision was, well, if you don't want to live and there's more to life, and I called on a name who accepted me and that was there for me, why don't I give my life that I didn't want in the first place to him? So that's kind of, it really made sense to me. It's like, look, you screwed up everything. You did everything bonehead, backwards, you know, all wrong. And I had a back disease, anxiety disorder, major depression. I was on disability for 6 to 8 years, something like that. So I never had to work the rest of my life because I was on disability. But what happened to me in the jail was an absolute miracle, because I no longer had a back disease, anxiety disorder, and major depression, and I have never been to the doctor since then to disprove like I didn't, because like I just something that I haven't needed to do. That's just the truth. Well, I get placed on house arrest. Instead of them sending me to prison, you know, they take my car, they take my house, they take my money, and here I'm left at my mom and dad's. If they're going to accept me to live in their house on house arrest, that the judge just gave me 6 years. You know, 6 years on house arrest seems like a long time, but when you're facing 18 years in prison, and then they could have hit you with habitual drug felon at 42 years old, that's life, bro.
That is life.
So, you know, I'm facing life in prison. And when I had that encounter, or, you know, that happened to me, recovery became a thing, dealing with my mental health. I went to Hester Hollis and, you know, worked on my mental health, identified a whole lot of stuff inside of me, learned, you know, a whole lot. And I started sharing all this on Facebook because I didn't know what to do with it. If you were just healed of all of this stuff and you seen hives and rashes and everything leave your body, like how do you not tell somebody about it?
Right.
Like, you know, when I first caught fire for recovery or the Lord or whatever, it's because something so drastic happened inside of my body. It was like all of a sudden, it was like my heart, I was given a new heart. And when I was given a new heart, I didn't want to listen to the heavy metal and all this stuff that I loved. And like my music started to change. The way I looked at women started to change. I stopped cussing and my language started to change. And I didn't say that I was going to stop doing all this. All of a sudden, all of that stuff just was no longer attractive to me. So, being on house arrest at my parents', sharing all of this on Facebook, somebody that we graduated with, Scott Blakely, he called me, and I just had gone back to Ivy Tech, and because I want to be a drug addiction counselor. So you know, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to be a counselor. And I go and I make the dean's list, and I get to this thing that they call ethics. And the funny thing about ethics is you're not allowed to have relationships with people. I mean, there's so much stuff that you can't do, and it like totally goes against my faith. And I mean, I'm going to be walking around a liar, basically. If I'm going to go through with this, I'm going to have to get a job and basically, everything I believe in and everything else is whatever. So I make the dean's list, and I come home and I'm like, I'm quitting school. I'm done. I can't like morally do this. I'm not okay with it, And so I drop out of school, and I come home and I tell my mom, Mom, just dropped out of college. And she's like, oh, okay. And, went back to doing. And I'm thinking, now that's a big thing. Like, you don't want to lecture me and say,
Right.
Say, what are you doing or whatever. She just was totally at peace with the right decisions that I have been making. She's witnessed me in my work. You know what I mean? She's had a front row seat of how hard that I work, the dedication, the desire, and the drive. She witnessed all that to the level of she now trusted whatever decision. It's your life. You're going to make your decisions. So that kind of, hit me. That same evening, I get a phone call from Scott, and he said, Brian, are you being real? And I was like, bro, what are you talking about? Am I being real? And he's like, well, I'm seeing all this stuff on Facebook and everything. I just want to know, is this real? Like, I ain't trying to pull one over because
Listen, we've all known Brian long enough.
yeah.
You and I are cut from a very similar cloth,
so
right?
He had to ask. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, look, bro, I'm not the same dude, Scott. Like, your opinion of me, bro, I freaking don't care. I love you. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not out to get some followers or friends or whatever that looks like. I'm just saying the truth of the things that I know and I've experienced. And he's like, man, I want to hook you up with a job. Well, I'm on house arrest and disability, and that's not paying the bills. And that's like $14 a day, bro. And I'm at my mom and dad's, and no, I went to the thrift store and got a start, So I had a very humbling beginning. So Scott's like, how would you like to be a barista? And I didn't care what it was, bro. I'm like, I didn't even know what a barista was.
Sure.
Yeah, and he was like, you be selling coffee, in the recovery community. It's all about coffee, dude. So it's like, winning, Scott, that's awesome. And he brings me in for my interview. I pull up in Portland, Indiana to this nice, great, big, beautiful little elephant hair trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah, this great, this great job that I'm gonna make like $8 or $9 an hour at. Handing somebody a cup of coffee with two teenagers, thinking, okay, and walk in the trailer, and there stands Tom Oliver. And for anyone that doesn't know who Tom Oliver is, he was the policeman that had chased me all throughout Blackford County. He was the drug guy in Blackford County. So, it was like I walked in and I just felt like set up and like demoralized instantly. Like, what's this dude? Like,
what's going on?
Yeah, like, come on,
what's
bro.
really going on?
Exactly. Like, I changed, like, this whatever setup or whatever. And he goes, oh, Brian, hold on. And I was,
because you're not that far out of recovery. Like, you're not.
Yeah, no, I'm just like 8 months. You know what I mean? 9 months, maybe.
It's still with you.
Yeah. I'm early. You know what I'm saying? And I hated this dude.
Yeah.
Like, and I love him today, you know what I'm saying? But he knows,
Yep.
he good, the good side and the bad side, he was the good and I was the bad, and that's how it was. And he did a good job and I thought I did a good job. Right. So you don't like each other. And, he's like, hold on, Brian. And I'm like, what, bro? And he's like, I just want to tell you. He said, I'm proud of you. And I was, bro, I cried.
Oh, I'm sure.
I cried. And I was like, man, like, like he knows, like, I've changed. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know how to, like, explain it or tell. And we went for a ride, and he was like, bro, you're going to be able to help so many people. He said, you have no idea if you do this and you do this thing right, how many people that you'll be able to touch. He said, I've seen your whole bad, and if your good can be good, he said, you know, the sky is the limit for you, bro. And you know, I kind of, you know, I really took that, man, and everything that I started doing it with excellence, and I really started to care passionately about the smallest details of everything I started to do.
Your words, your actions.
Everything started to be important to me then.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I started to have people to look upon, people that were successful. You know, Pastor Troy Kaufman, you know, some men, you know, that did things the right way. You know, I started having men, you know, speaking to my life that I would never allow to tell me anything, bro. I started watching and wanting to figure this stuff out, because, you know, I wasn't a good dad to my first son, but, you know, with this job as a barista, man, it quickly moved forward, bro. Like, they opened up a store in Upland within a month, and all of a sudden I was a manager, and then Scott Blakely got called to be a principal again, which Tom Oliver stepped up, which opened the door for me to be a general manager. So I went from disability to handing somebody a cup of coffee to a manager to running a whole 130,000, 150, 300,000, you know, 2 stores or whatever that looked like, with keys and safes and you know what I'm saying?
Access.
Like in access in fast, you know what I mean? Within 15 months, all of a sudden I'm a general manager, and then I move into a project manager, and I'm on house arrest at this time. And then while I'm on house arrest, Tyler Hunt was a huge, huge impact in my life. I'll never forget him setting in front of him, and I'm in his room, and he said, you have the opportunity to be the most successful person that's ever sat in that chair right there. And it, you know what I'm saying? I've had some people speak some things into my life and kind of, you know, raise me up a little bit, and him to encourage and motivate me. And I started to believe in myself. And it's not that I believed in myself. I believed in everything that happened to me. And I was like, this isn't coincidence. I'm putting in hard work. I changed the people in my life. I have accountability. I know what recovery is. You know, I'm starting to change my lifestyle. So, you know, I practiced that a whole lot of things. Like, I was a professional athlete, you would probably say. And if you practice like you're a professional, you're going to be professional at something.
Right.
So all of a sudden, I still have 4 felonies to you know, on my case. You know, I'm still a 4-time convicted drug felon. I'm now getting ready to be a project manager for Community Family Services, which is a crazy title to carry without a college degree. And I get a phone call, and it was Shane Bill, and they were doing a recovery event. The state senator, Andy Zay, was hosting in Wabash at their theater.
The Honeywell Center.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. That thing is,
it's
dude,
amazing.
I got to be the keynote final speaker, and I got to sign the wall where Bob and Tom and all these
Oh yeah.
all these amazing people, bro. There's Brian Blevins right there in the midst of all of them, because if you get to share that stage, you get to write your name on the wall. There's Elvis.
Oh yeah.
And like you see that whole back way. I gotta like do that, dude. And that was just stupid to me that I gave up Brian Blevins, like the selfish guy, legit worked my butt off, bro. And all of a sudden, I'm on stage with the opportunity to tell a story of basically just what my recovery looked like and what hope looked like for me, and how that hope could work for someone else. And from that, a job opportunity became available in Grant County for the community opioid response endeavor, which I had a very good job. So it was really, I don't want to leave that job. But one thing it was I got to be a peer. And being a peer support specialist, the ethics are kind of a little different. You know what I'm saying? So everything that I said, screw college and everything, all of a sudden the door got opened up to make professional money,
Right.
doing something that isn't even a job at all. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I can't even really say that that's a job, because how can loving people and pointing people in right directions and being there for people, what everybody should be doing for everyone anyway. You know what I mean? I get paid to do that. All of a sudden, I'm going into the emergency room. I have keys to Cornerstone, which is a mental illness place. I've taken like more people than we graduated high school together. I've taken to rehab in my car, bro. Like, that's a stupid number of people that I started individually, just like whatever barrier somebody would have if they were in the emergency room or detox in Cornerstone or whatever that looked like. Bro, I could like break all that down in real time, have you there, take you myself, pick you up, and they allowed me and gave me the freedom to connect with all those people, in that time. I got married, and never being married, and now I'm 44 years old. I get married, and God blessed me with a son at 46.
46.
Yeah, 50-year-old with a 3-year-old probably don't sign up to do that thing. But when God gives you a new lease and a new opportunity on life, bro, it's like there's nothing like it, bro. I mean, any desire of my heart, God has given me tenfold, because I didn't want my life in the first place. So recovery has brought me a new life, but the work ethic and everything, that was me getting up. That was me doing the extra. That was me studying. That was me networking, doing all those things to get to where, all of a sudden I'm the life change director at the Grant County Rescue Mission, and working 2 jobs because my wife had a job and she had to quit her job because of the baby.
Sure.
So I'm working 2 jobs, bro. I'm working 60, 70 hours a week, and you couldn't even peel me off the couch. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, dude, desire to wake up and provide and to do those things is something that happened. And so I then, COVID happened. I step away from the rescue mission because we have our baby. My wife gets a job at the Delaware County Jail, to where she works for the IRACS program, and she mentors women. And so, the core program that I hired in with, while it was going away, and I knew it was going away, so I stepped into a recovery house supervisor's job. And in that job, somebody, Kirk Boughman, that he messed up, a couple times, and Blackford County basically, washed their hands with Kirk, which, kind of some of our poor decisions sometimes, backs them into, we can force their hands for us. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So he wasn't as fortunate as I was, and he went and served some time. When I was at the Grace House, he wrote me a letter and helped me get out of jail. And I'm like, well, I've been working with the problem solving courts and doing a lot of stuff in Grant County, but as far as Blackford County, I'm still Brian Blevins, probably, you know what I mean? Somewhat, in Blackford. So I go in front of the judge with Kirk, and basically, he got out and he did a year and a half at the Grace House, and we came up with an idea, let's start a food truck business, because we both love serving people, and we served in the recovery community. We've hosted large events. We fed people and did all that. So we just really wanted to serve, some food, and by golly, I needed a 401k for all the years that I didn't invest in myself, and I invested in a whole bunch of other stuff I shouldn't have been invested in. So really, I bet on myself, and things have really been going well. He came up with the name Chubby Burgers. He came up with a really great signature sauce. We keep a small menu, so we do burgers and hot dogs, all beef. Nathan's Ballpark Franks, bro.
Y'all know I love
Come
some
on.
Nathans.
Yeah, and and we have quality food for a cheap price. We did fairs and festivals, and we keep our hot dogs at like $2 because you buy a burger or whatever, you see families who don't have money, bro. So and I give away food too.
Yep.
If you're hungry and I think you're hungry and you're walking by, I'm giving you something, and that's just how I am. I'm really not. I like to make money or whatever. Don't get me wrong, but that's not the most important thing. And I think the ability to network and build so many relationships through all of the things that I've done has led up with me sitting in your chair, on this day, bro. Like, it all just works together. Networking is the best, smartest thing that someone can do.
Without a doubt. And to have those people in your life that encourage you, that coach you, that more than those things, they'll hold you accountable, and maybe not by their words, but definitely by their actions. The people that believe in you, the Tom Olivers of the world, the Scott Blakeleys of the world. Scott Blakely was someone who believed in me and said, hey, when I was transitioning from repo and cars, said, go back to school, man. You wanted to be a teacher in the beginning.
Do it.
Go do it. And that was a key reason I became an educator and spent 12, 13 years of my life committed to that. And this podcast kind of comes out of that as well, to where I had an opportunity to transition out, and just for multitude of reasons, and mainly time. Mainly time. I spent a lot of time as an educator, and I absolutely loved what I did. But this podcast is that next piece to what I'm trying to accomplish in my life, to find my best self. And through that, it's getting that message to a broader audience than what I'd had before. Same for you.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I know about you, Scott, is you've always had a heart for people.
I love people.
And I was class president a couple years, and you know what I mean? You were class president the last couple years.
Just the last. Yeah.
But we just loved people always. You know what I mean?
It's always been about the relationship. And that's what you're doing now.
And when it's unhealthy, look, all the healthy relationships you're going to walk away from because you'll be ashamed and embarrassed.
Absolutely.
To be around those people. So it's not that I didn't want to be in people's lives, is I was more ashamed of my poor choices, and I really, was always rooting for people to be successful and do well. Yeah.
Well, I'm thankful for all you're doing, and thanks for coming on, just talking today, and spreading the word, brother.
Yeah. Hey, bro.
I think the biggest thing, we're all trying to accomplish is make this world a better place.
And look, instead of like bashing, if there's a need or something, you could be that person. You could start that ministry. You could put in that transitional house. Like, there is so much that you can really do, instead of like always saying, why don't they do this? Or why don't, it's like, I just had to get rid of that. And I would challenge myself and I would say, what could I do? And I found out, bro, that there's a lot that I can do, and I don't have to rely on what everyone is doing. And if more people just honestly focused on what they could do and what they could affect, I'm telling you, like, you could do so much more than probably what you would give yourself credit for.
It's what I've said before. You change behavior, you change belief. And when your behavior starts changing, and part of that is the people you're with, the people you're associating with, those that you allow into your life, the things that you're listening to. I've talked about that before too, where I stopped listening to music altogether for about 3 years. Only thing I would listen to would be motivational speakers, people that were pouring into my head. Eric Thomas and God, so many of them that were just incredible. Chris Voss and multitude of others. Gary Vaynerchuk is a big one too. And just listening to those words, and all of a sudden you start believing it.
Yeah.
And you start living it a little bit. And next thing you know, well, I lived it a little bit. What if I just lived it a little bit more? I've struggled with weight most of my adult life. Well, all of my adult life. And I recently saw a picture of me carrying a baby bag. So when Addison was just a baby, and I said, oh my gosh, did I eat him? And it wasn't like, I never had a good, like, mental image of myself, of what I look like. And that stems from being young and overweight. Well, then by the time I was 16, 17, 18 through my mid 20s, man, looking back now, holy moly, I'd take that guy in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Right. But my mental image of me was not that. It was not someone who, I was in shape, man. I looked skinny in a couple pictures. I never felt skinny. But our mental picture, how we think of ourselves, we project that. We project that in the things we do.
Oh, yeah.
I had a poor self-image. Smoking was easy.
Yeah.
Smoking a joint here or there, that was easy.
Yeah.
Drinking some alcohol to excess, that was easy.
Yeah.
Because I already didn't feel well about myself anyway. So why not just,
Yeah.
look at that. Yeah, you got to be a clown. So
yeah.
rather than being someone who people looked at and went, oh man, that guy, he's got his crap together. I just clown instead because it was easier to get a laugh. Right?
Yeah.
You feel that.
To the choir,
That's what I
bro.
said, man. We're cut from the same cloth.
Absolutely.
And, I think the difference was probably one decision.
Yeah.
You think about just one decision that you have made in life that changes the direction. It might seem ever so slight in the moment, but that change of 1 degree difference in your long-term trajectory is just incredible.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. And, I'm with you, man. I just want to project positivity.
Absolutely.
This whole thing is about people finding their best self and experiencing, an opportunity to find their best life. And if there's one thing that gets said on my podcast that changes someone for the better, then it's all worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know there is, bro.
So, well, good. Thanks for coming on, man. Guys, there's so much more we could talk about today. We're an hour in, and you all know I like my hour. But thank you, Brian. If you guys all will give him a big round of applause in your car for all he's doing, and cheer him on, and make sure we're keeping an eye on him.
Yeah.
All right. Always under the microscope.
Hey, I went all in. I'm gonna keep it that way, bro.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, and thanks for all you do. Is there some place people can reach out to you? I know you're not social mediaing it up anymore, but
I do Facebook. You can get a hold of me at Brian Blevins, and I just started Chubby Burgers page.
Oh, you gotta
So
get on.
come
the
on,
Chubby Burger,
follow
man.
me. You know,
see Chubby Burgers out there. Go up and say hey to Brian, and make sure you talk to him, and get you a Chubby Burger. Don't go for the junior. Well, maybe you can. I probably should.
Your wife should.
You know?
Not yours. Not yours.
Yeah, I definitely need to go for the junior. I've had the Chubby Burger, man. Let me tell you. I was like, holy crap, I should have got the junior. So get the junior. Unless you're feeling a little froggy.
Yeah.
You go for it. Feel like you had a good week and it's a cheat day.
Hey, 2/3 pound. Come on.
It is every bit of it, too. All right, guys. Thanks so much. We're out.